Hi there, Terry back again. Hope I find you well. And welcome to my latest video. Superman time again, hence the t-shirt. Part 9, 1964, Part 2. We're getting very technical. Firstly, before I start, I would like you to subscribe if you haven't already, thumbs up, comment when I finish the video, because I would like to get to 250 subscribers so I can give away some comics. If that's your thing, let other people know that there's some silly sod on YouTube doing uh, comic covers, and if that's their bag, you never know, they may subscribe. But anyway, let's get on with it. It's Superman 170, July 1964, cover by Curt Swan. And this cover story isn't the first story in this issue. This was Superman's mission for President Kennedy. It was written by E. Nelson Bridwell and the art was by Al Plastino. But the story was originally set for issue 167. But due to the sad assassination of President Kennedy, it was pulled. Now, DC approached the White House, and the White House encouraged them to print the story. Now, obviously, then it was printed in this issue. The story, the DC database say there are some copies of issue 167 with that story in. I can't say I've ever seen them, and I can't say I've ever seen anybody on eBay saying, "Oh, look what I've got." But if you have seen one, or you do know that it does exist, it'd be nice to know in the comments. Be interesting to get one, but this probably costs many thousands of dollars. Anyway, this cover story is if Lex, as it says, if Lex were Superman's father. And it's written by Jerry Siegel, art by Curt Swan and George Klein, and it's another imaginary story, as you can see on the cover. But, of course, since Crisis, they decided this story actually happened. And it happened in the universe of Earth 170. Now we have Action 314, July. Cover date, Curt Swan. The title of the cover is a bit misleading. The reason being, this story forecast what would have happened if Kal-El landed on other planets rather than Earth. The writer Edmund Hamilton chooses. He becomes versions of Atom, Aquaman, Green Arrow, Batman, and the Flash. And the art, of course, is by Al Plastino. Supergirl's story is Supergirl's Tragic Ordeal. It's written by Leo Dorfman and the art by Jim Mooney. And that story continues into issue 315. Then we have issue 171, August cover date. Another great cover by Curt Swan. And there's 3 stories in this issue. Superman's Sacrifice by Leo Dorfman and Al Plastino. The Curse of Magic with Mr. Mxyzptlk. He turns up, and thanks to Jerry Siegel, with art by Curt Swan and George Klein. And the cover story, The Nightmare Ordeal of Superman, is Under a Red Sun again, is brought to us by Edmund Hamilton and Al Plastino. Then we have Action 315, August 64, Curt Swan cover, and it's The Juvenile Delinquents of Space, written by Leo Dorfman and art by Jim Mooney. And they also wrote the Supergirl story, The Menace of Supergirl's Mother. Then we have Action 316, September cover date. Curt Swan doing the art again. And the juvenile delinquents return in Ziggy and Zaggy's Trap for Superman. And this was the last time we saw these two, or was it? Let me know in the comments if you know any more appearances of those two. I'm sure I've seen it, and I just can't remember where it's from. Supergirl's Choice of Doom is the last part of this 3-part tale, and again, both stories are written by Leo Dorfman and Jim Mooney. Then back to an August cover date. Not that it says it on the cover, but this is 80-page giant #1, which actually was going to be the annual #9. It's even advertised in some of the in the house, in some of the books in the house ads. That's what it was going to be. But this was the first of 15 80-page giants. The numbering was continued, but side by side with the number of the issue in the particular series, and it went from number 16 to number 89. Number 16 was the Justice League of America number 39, and coincidentally, number 89, the last one, was the Justice League of America number 93. Now, back to the 80-page giant. It says it's all on the cover. It's slab because it's the best. Well, this bit isn't on the cover. It's the best condition I could find at the time. Was the reason I bought the slab one. I have got a readable copy, but the stories which have shown the covers of previously from this issue, and they were Action 259, 270, 275, and Superman 137. The other two stories are from Superboy 78 from Jan 1960 and Jimmy Olsen number 29 from June 1958. And one day, if I live long enough, I may even get those issues. Who knows? Back cover as well is showing stories for the Giant Lois Lane. Which for these great stories in the third issue of the Giant Lois Lane annual. Again, not books that I've got. Then we have Superman 172, the cover and internal art by Curt Swan and George Klein. And there's just one story in this issue, The New Superman. It's written by Edmund Hamilton. And this issue we see a non-powered Kal-El or Clark fly a helicopter. There is also a text feature, How Perry White has helped Superman. Then we have Action 317, October 64. The three... Come back to the cover. Oh yeah. The cover this time is Curt Swan, George Klein and Irish Snap. Very colourful cover. And it features Superman's rainbow face, writer Otto Binder and Al Plastino with the art. Then in the Supergirl story, we have the first appearance of Jeff Colby. No, I didn't remember him either. The next time we see him is 17 years later, so not really a recurring character. Anyway, the title of the story is The Great Supergirl Double Cross. The writer is Leo Dorfman, art by Jim Mooney, and lettering by Joe Letteries. It's a really apt name. Superman 173, the last of the Supermen in 1964. Again, Curt Swan cover. And the first story is The Untouchable Clark Kent. Clark and Lois are mistaken for John Dillinger and his mole by Ed Babson, a 30s movie actor whose disturbed mind causes him to think he is an old-time gangster. Second story is Tales of Green Kryptonite #1. Yes, a piece of sentient green kryptonite tells us 3 stories. Only in the 60s, eh? And the third story, which is the cover story, probably should have been in the Jimmy Olsen comic, really, but it's called Jimmy Disobeys Superman. So as punishment, Supes and Batman dress up as Lex and Brainiac to teach him a lesson. And there was me thinking it was those two's second team up. Then, penultimate issue, Action 318, November 64. Curt Swan and George Klein doing the cover. And just for a change, we have The Death of Luthor. In this tale, written by Edmund Hamilton, art Curt Swan and George Klein, Lex does get to marry his lady love Eldora before supposedly dying. Part 2, next issue. Then we have Supergirl Goes to College by Leo Dorfman and Jim Mooney. And yes, she graduates Midvale High School and goes to Stanhope College on a scholarship. And now we have our last issue for the year, Action 319, December cover date, again by Curt Swan and George Klein. And the first story is the second part of The Death of Luthor, called The Condemned Superman. Both parts written by Edmund Hamilton, art Kurt Swan and George Klein. As you see on the cover, the Kryptonite chains. He has no powers on this planet, so therefore is immune to the green stuff. But the Lexorians know him. Yeah, sorry, put my teeth in. He gets his powers back, but with the red sun, I don't know how, he then wouldn't be immune anymore. Clever, these Lectorians. The Supergirl story entitled The Super Cheat. Potable writer, the database doesn't show it, is Leo Dorfman, and the art is Jim Mooney. And this guest stars the Shrinking Violet from the Legion of Superheroes. Right, that's it for another one. Please like, subscribe, and comment. As I said at the beginning, tell any fans of Superman they may like my ramblings. See you back here for the next one. Bye.